That last word work, we don't play. DMV heat coming straight your way. No visit to the 757, we ride. Rusty Byrd got the bullpen live.
Hey, this is Rusty Byrd with the last word. And like I always say, who cares about your first take when you can have the last word? And we're going to tackle the Virginia Tech hire of James Franklin today. That's right. It just happened this week. There was some speculation. What we'll do is we'll first cover from the fact that Coach Franklin was even fired. He was fired after preseason. I think they were top 5, maybe number 2 in the preseason polls, but was fired after just a couple of games. But Virginia Tech, before they fired their coach. And Bret Pry, the former Penn State assistant, was let go after a really tough start. So I'm blessed to have some great folks to talk about this particular topic. I've got my former co-host from the Kirk and Byrd show, Kirk Hillard. Welcome to the show, Kirk.
Good to be here. Excited to talk about this.
Yeah, Kirk, that's my dog. We had our show, and we're still going to keep things going forward together, doing a lot. I'm really excited about that. But Kirk is a Virginia Tech alumni, a big Hokie fan. He knows a lot about Virginia Tech and provide that perspective. Next, I have 757 Hampton High School's Dwight Vick, a star player at Virginia Tech. He was an all-state football player at Hampton High, a captain of the Hokies, and just really a part of that tradition that really grew the program to greatness. So welcome to the show, Dwight.
What's going on, man? I've been following you and Kirk when y'all first got started, the Kirk and Byrd show, and I've been saying the last word. I love what you do. I love what you got going on. You and I just kicked it the other day doing Princeton County Media Day. So thank you for having me on, man. I always appreciate the great convo and insight that you guys share.
And I want to promote your show, Vicktory Life. You want to go ahead and give a plug for that?
Oh, no, man. I appreciate it, man. This is about yours. But just, for those watching, owner and founder of Vicktory Life, man, program working. I'm a mental health licensed therapist based out here at Prince William, but we service Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, Alexandria. I got a team of people that work for me and with me, just trying to change the world, addressing mental health, everything, family mentoring, therapeutic mentoring, parent coaching, just spread out. We got contracts with schools in Prince William, but I started the podcast in 2020 because I was on everybody else's podcast and everybody was like, you got to get your own. So for 3 years, I had the Vic 757 show with my cousin Mike, and he started to get into coaching. But in that time, I started 2020, the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight and Legacy Podcast, just highlighting guys, women, everybody, man, just talking sports, talking legends, talking people, anywhere from superintendents to cancer survivors to coaches to student athletes. It's been a blessing, the Vicktory Life movement. I can't do it without all people like you guys, man. So I'm blessed, man, to be a prominent member of the community here in Nova, but I'm a 757 guy.
Support Vic because I can personally attest to the fact I've had family members directly impacted by the services he provides to the community. And he was nothing but a blessing to my family. So shout out to that for real, on the real. And then next is my dog, Jeremiah Davis. I've been around and knowing this young man since he was in middle school. It's too many things to say about church, him helping introduce me to my wife, him being in my wedding, us doing the father-son middle school football championship throw joint. But this dude right here was an all-state football player at Annandale High School, Penn State football star, wore the number 86, which is legendary. And after that, went into coaching, successfully been the head coach of 2 programs in Northern Virginia. Now is an administrator in Fairfax County Schools and is the father of 4 great young people, 2 boys, 2 girls. Oldest is at Penn State, which he's doing work. And then your son, Jeremiah Jr., was recently named Defensive Player of the Year in the district. Congratulations, Coach Davis.
Yeah, man, it's glad to be here. Get it rolling. I feel like this crew on this call was part of one of the highest viewed shows ever.
If you go
the band back together.
Yes. Because I believe we when Pry was hired,
Mhm.
this was the group
Mhm.
that discussed it, and it's got one of our highest rated. And I hate to say this, Dwight, but the other highest rated one was the Mike Smith episode. I mean, I hate to say it just because we're rivals in high schools, Bethel and Hampton.
Oh no, man, I watched that.
That
That was great.
that was a great one. I'm actually in negotiations with getting Coach Cos on for real. So I
Oh,
Oh
think a
wow.
lot
man.
of people, yeah,
Oh,
Wow.
Coach Cos.
hey, I tell you what, I'm about to help you out. You should try to get him and Smith together, man.
Oh yeah, we might have to make that happen.
I'm gonna
I
tell
mean,
you this really quick. I feel like I was blessed to be part of the golden era when you talk about Kurt Newsome, Bill D, Sexton, Mike Smith, Kozlowski. I don't think the talent will always be there in the Peninsula District, but that, and I mean Tommy Riemann, the guy at Denby, that just was I look back now with pride. I get emotional thinking about it, man, because
yeah,
Kozlowski and those guys, man, they were just amazing. They were like they were like Greek gods to me, bro. Like it was just amazing.
absolutely.
They were just
Yeah.
amazing men, like winners, teachers, motivators. It's just a blessed time to be a part of that, man.
And look, Jeremiah could say the same thing. He played for a legendary coach, Dick Adams at Annandale.
Yes.
Like, like
Yeah.
he knows exactly what that's like. He played for him and then coached with him, and Coach Adams has been a great man mentor to Jeremiah too. But let's get into this. Virginia Tech just hired James Franklin. Now, the perspectives are going to be amazing here in that we have 4 years ago, we talked about Bret Pry, who came from Penn State. All right. Unfortunately, Coach Pry was let go, I think, after the third game. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was after the ODU loss.
ODU loss. Right. Respect, man. ODU, this is balling this year. A really good program. It wasn't like a luck thing when they, like some other years, maybe just they were hot that night. It's a good team.
Yeah,
So,
ODU. I've always felt growing up in the 757. I said this when I was a recruit and I had a plethora of offers. We always said in the 90s, if ODU ever got a football team, they were going to take off. That loss did not surprise me. I think Pride was fired by the way they lost. That
yeah,
loss was so agreed. It wasn't the fact that they won by a field goal. ODU came down there and they were destroying them. And I apologize. Yeah, it wasn't after the ODU. It wasn't after Vandy. It was just back to back very bad showings, and it was too much, and it was
yeah.
just you can't lose like that.
And to be honest, I'm a big Virginia Tech fan, but I wasn't. I mean, I was like, I'm not really surprised. Whereas Penn State firing James Franklin. But before I go to you on that, Jeremiah, Kirk, your thoughts on the Pride being released? Did you agree with that? Were you cool with it?
Yeah, I mean, Bret Pry is a nice guy. He's a very nice guy. He's a good communicator. And after Fuente was cold, didn't interact with the press, didn't interact with the alumni base. He was not a fit for Virginia Tech. But I think Coach Pry was going down, and Dwight is exactly right. I mean, we got taken to the woodshed by ODU. That was not a fluke. I mean, they just beat us. And one note I will make also is this class of 2026. You guys all know this. They're all committed, right? We're talking about 2027, Derek Fisher. So this was a big class for Tech. Tech did not do well. They lost a number of kids with Hokie ties. Won't name names, but we know who they are, right? Some of them up here in Northern Virginia that had. So the battle for the state, that kid down in Richmond, I believe at Hermitage, was like offered by Tech in the 7th or 8th grade. So I think it was one of those things where there's a quick trigger now, but I think Coach Pry, we weren't going anywhere, and this is a good breath of fresh air.
So that's how we all felt as Virginia Tech fans about Bret Pry. I really liked him. He recruited my man Nathaniel Wright. He did care about the 757 Northern Virginia. It just didn't work out. Now, on the other hand, Coach Davis, tell us about your thoughts with the firing of James Franklin.
I was at the whiteout game. They had come into the game like maybe 4-0, beat Villanova and Nevada and some teams like that. And there was high expectations coming into that Oregon game that didn't work out in their favor. I mean, it went to 2 overtimes. It was a tough battle. All right, not winning the big one again, in front of that crowd. Um, tough hit to it. Following week, going out to UCLA, a winless UCLA team.
Yeah.
Coach is fired, coordinators running the show, you know, and you get beat. It's like, that hurts. All right. Then, then you lose by 1 to Northwestern, and it's thank you for your time. Now, the thing is that 12 years, won a lot of games over the 12-year period. Average 9 to 10 wins a season. Went to the playoffs last year. Made a run. Came down to the last drive. Actually, how they lost the game to Oregon the same way they lost the game to Notre Dame on the interception, quick play kind of deal, ends the game down. It's about it just came, down to the wins. Now, I'll say this, and then we'll talk about transition and all of that stuff. But Penn State fans, myself included, we have this vision of Penn State, right? It's the best thing going. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It's the only thing that matters in football world is Penn State. The dose of reality happened when they let them go, and everybody didn't come running there. All we did was get other coaches paid more money. That's the only thing firing James Franklin did was get all these other coaches paid more money. It didn't bring us any notoriety. It was humbling. It was a humbling experience to see how many people didn't trip over themselves, kind of run into that door for Penn State. Also, it was
to see how many programs that wanted James Franklin.
How many that wanted James Franklin. So it's just a humbling experience and a learning experience on how to run things. If it was me, and if I had any say so, maybe you after that loss let him know, hey, listen, we're gonna move in another direction. It's obvious we're gonna move in another direction as the season winds down. When we'll move toward that. But to keep the continuity and the recruits interested, we're gonna keep you here to the end of the season. But they listen to the boos in the crowd, and now those same people are saying good luck to Virginia Tech with James Franklin, and there was the same people in the crowd that saying, hey, get him out of here, get somebody else in, hire Urban Meyer, he's gonna come here and take us to the national championship. So that's just my view of it, man, and again, have some intimate knowledge of the program and James Franklin himself, and just I think it's a good thing for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I do too. I think look, I didn't become a big Penn State fan until you went there, Jeremiah. So when people ask me who are my favorite teams, Penn State and Virginia Tech. And so but now that he's gone, I don't have a lot of reasons to really, pull him unless they hire Mike Vick. I don't know. We'll see. but we'll see how that goes. I think the thing I thought about it was, he was in the very first 12-team playoff. If you look back over the previous 8, 9, 10 years, had they had a 12-team playoff, he probably would have been in it every year. Every year. It's done. Oh, well, I do hope for your sake, you guys are able to get somebody that can keep some of the tradition going, but it's not as easy as they think, it just won't be.
I think going forward, and this is a transition point in the conversation, but the landscape of things now, it takes money to recruit and retain top quality talent. People are under the assumption Penn State had a lot of money. Penn State's not got one of the biggest bankroll rosters. They really don't. They made
Texas oil money.
No, none of that. None of that. We don't have any of that in Central Pennsylvania. They are making a lot, and the guys have committed because it's where they want it to be. It's a household name. It's that tradition of excellence, academics, and that they're still riding the coattails of some of the stuff Joe Paterno put in place. I'm just cut it plain and simple, and they are. The same way James Franklin made a long career out of Saquon Barkley, and he talked about it in his press conference. Saquon Barkley, Mike Gesicki, Trace McSorley, those guys that kind of got him rolling early on. He got a lot of mileage out of those guys. What I'll say is he's going to get a lot of those guys at Virginia Tech to come. They are putting money behind what he's doing. They have the luxury, and I've been, as recently as this summer, on recruiting trips with my son, and both of those places, they have the ability to attract talent and bring people in because of some. They aren't at the top right now, right? You know what I mean? People are willing to give to get them back to the Michael Vick era. Um, on the other side of that, now Penn State doesn't have you can't go much higher than James Franklin.
Right.
The guys that are higher than him that are going to attract people by name only aren't coming. And so they're going to have to find a new thing. But I think moving forward with Virginia Tech, with what they have, the money they're putting behind it, the excitement around this, his ability to recruit the DMV,
Yeah.
Southern Virginia. Let's talk about, you know what I mean? Let's talk about one of the starting running backs at Penn State.
County alone.
Hold on. One of the starting running backs, Katron Allen's from Norfolk, Virginia. He went to IMG, but
Yep,
he's by way of Norfolk,
Oh, yeah.
Virginia.
sure is.
You know what I mean? One of the starting linebackers, although he's hurt, Tony Rojas, Fairfax, Virginia.
Yes.
One of the starting linemen is from Light Ridge High School, Northern Virginia.
Amari Campbell.
You know what I mean?
Campbell
Amari
here,
Campbell, who we played against at Unity Reed High School, Northern Virginia. Like, you know what I mean? These cats he's winning with are for Brandon Smith, Louisa High School. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Virginia. We talk about Tyler Warren, Richmond, Virginia. You know what I
He
mean?
picked
Like,
Ricky Slade out of here.
let's
And Devin Ford.
Devin Ford, yeah.
You just talk the names that he's getting. He has a foothold in this area. He know how to talk to folks to get him to get where he's going. He's at the right spot.
Yeah. No doubt. So, Dwight, now we just heard Jeremiah's perspective from Penn State. Now going to Tech. What are your thoughts on Franklin?
I knew about Franklin. I'm kind of in the know with some stuff. I text a group chat that I'm a part of months ago, and I said Franklin's going to be the guy. I had a couple of sources, but I wasn't about to tweet that. But I like the guy at JMU a lot because I kept saying Virginia Tech needs a good coach that can manage the NIL, the portal, but also know when to plug in the talent. I think sometimes Pry was a little bit too loyal to some of his veterans. Like if I was coaching Virginia Tech, I would have brought in a coordinator that mimicked what Tyler Bowen did with the RPO action, because Drones is better at RPO than he is, in an air raid offense. And Monty's offense is more air raid than it is RPO and run game. However, Monty's adjusted. I think sometimes coaches overthink things when it comes to like plugging in the plays. You got to have a feel for your personnel and know when to push the buttons. I think having somebody that come in a portal and challenge Drones for that starting job, because they've never looked at Pop seriously. So I think that was some of the things that did Pry in. I was very ecstatic when they got Pry because he was there as a grad assistant when I was in the prime of my career. I was there with him for 3 years. He saw firsthand how Virginia Tech was built. He was there when we beat Miami for the first time. He was there for the Sugar Bowl run. We finished in the top 10. He was there for the Orange Bowl run when we won the conference again at 10-1. And then he was there, I believe, in '97 when we lost to Carolina in the Gator Bowl. And then he went on to do great things at Penn State. I've always loved Penn State and respected them. I always felt like they're a program that was a first-class organization. I just, from the days of LeVar Arrington and the LeVar Lee, Penn State and Virginia Tech are kind of like kindred spirits, is because a lot of connections. Jim Weaver, that took over for Dave Brain, was a Penn State guy. And he came and he told us, my redshirt junior, you guys are not ready to play for a national championship, but you will be soon. And he got the fundraising and the facilities, and then the Merriman Center was built. And then right after I graduate, thanks, Mom, she enrolled me early, they played for a national championship. Penn State was ranked ahead of Virginia Tech the year they played for a national championship in the BCS era. Tech was 3, Penn State was 2. Penn State had a very crazy, curious loss on the road or at home to Minnesota. Virginia Tech had the miracle in Morgantown that same night, that same day. Virginia Tech jumps Penn State. Penn State loses. Virginia Tech plays for a national championship. So in a lot of ways, they've mirrored each other throughout the last 27 years. Only difference is Penn State, after the unfortunate situation with Dan Zangusky and all of that, they had a drop-off briefly, but then they rose to prominence where after Beamer, there were flashes with Fuente a few years, and then his study declined, and then you had Pry come in, and then he had that second year where they put drones in and they went 7-6, but then he could never really capture momentum with the talent he had. I think sometimes in today's game, we overthink things as ADs in the high school and collegiate level, where the NIL and the sense of urgency to win now, when only one team will win a national championship. I've often said, man, even before we got Franklin, if Virginia Tech could just get a sip of what they've had with the playoff appearances, the Big Ten title, the constant ranked in the top 10, that's great. I mean, I was on programs that was ranked in the top 10 at Virginia Tech. We didn't win a national championship, but even my senior year, we finished 9-3. Should have been undefeated, but we finished 18th in the nation. We beat Alabama in the inaugural Music City Bowl, the first ever game against Alabama. Now, granted, they weren't Nick Saban Alabama, but they still had 9 guys on that team that were drafted, including Chris Samuels, Fernando Bryant, and
Sean Alexander.
Yeah, Sean Alexander. So my point is this, is that I just felt like it makes sense. I think sometimes here's the thing. I'm not going to get delusional and act like Penn State was about to make this run, but I've been around the game a long time like you guys have. And the losses were bad for Franklin, but I remember when Virginia Tech, I was at both games. They lost to JMU at home the same week after losing to Boise State. 2 games they should have won. The JMU loss was horrendous. But the players at a player-only meeting, they ended up winning 10 straight, and they ended up winning the conference championship over Florida State and lost to Stanford, led by Andrew Luck in the Orange Bowl with Tyrod Taylor. So the truth of the matter is sometimes it's the right time, sometimes it's the wrong time, because you got to be careful what you wish for. It's very difficult to get back to a sustained success level what Penn State had. They're going to have the players. They got the brand. But I think this is just a momentum boost for Franklin and Virginia Tech, because now Virginia Tech gets a coach that was humbled and embarrassed, and now he's motivated. He met with us today. It was over 250 former players on a Zoom today. He met with us after his press conference at 1:00. I was in there with some of the legendary players, guys from 60s, the 70s, and 90s, and the 2000s. He met with us. And he was very believable and captivating, because I've been around this game, so I know when it's manufactured talk. But, it's a great fit, man. And, I love what he did. I could tell you, Devin Ford, Ricky Slade, a lot of times in the Beamer era, when Beamer was on his way out to retirement, and even when Fuente got there, many times we lost recruits. We would be number 2 or number 3 in their top 4, top 5, but Penn State would be number 1. And a lot of that was because Penn State was a better brand, the better program, and Franklin's a star. Our good friend Jay Golson last year, the kid who I've been high on at Patriot High School, Matthew, the linebacker, number 9.
Yeah, number 9.
When James Franklin came to visit him at Patriot, he already had a bunch of offers. What does Jay Golson post in the group chat? Not the group chat, but the Facebook group page. He says, you're big time when James Franklin comes to see you and offer you personally. Yep. When Pry came to offer him, he didn't get that post. It's not so much about Jay Golson's post. It's about your brand and credibility. I'm a Vic. So when you hear that, you're going to turn a little bit, right? Michael Vick may be losing in his first year, but ticket sales are through the roof. And if he can work the portal, I talked to him last week, if he gets all the right pieces, now he has a full season to recruit his guys, it can change. So I think Franklin, recruiting alone, I mean, he's working on flipping kids right now. He was on the phone with guys. I just feel like it's a good hire. I'm not going to be elated yet, only for one reason, is that all his success was at Vanderbilt and Penn State. I got to see what he does at Virginia Tech. I'm cautiously optimistic because he's a winner. I think what gives me a lot of confidence, sometimes when you won a lot, you can rest on your laurels and be like, well, I've won this, I've won that. When you go out on someone else's terms, it makes you think about, okay, what did I learn and what am I going to do differently? And I think we're getting that James Franklin. I think if he had won a chip at Penn State, the big prize, maybe he's not as motivated. He's got a 5-year deal, and he might just be there for 5 years and give it to someone else. But I think Virginia Tech investing in the financial needs of their program when the Board of Visitors approved the budget, the fact that NIL is changing and they have bought into that. You saw what that did for UVA this year when they finally got serious about football. They're on the brink of playing for an ACC championship. This is after 25 years of just futility. It just shows you what you can do. And I just think he's a good fit. But you got to see what happens. I think the key thing for Franklin is who is going to be his staff. I know he's bringing in a GM and the other guy from Penn State, but who is he going to retain? Is he going to retain J.C. Price? Go ahead, Rusty.
Oh, no, I just wanted, real quick before I forget, there's a person that you probably know pretty well that was on the Penn State staff, and he's a crabber, Marcus Hagans.
Biscuit.
Yeah, would be, I don't know what's going on in Penn State. I don't know if they want, but wouldn't it be great if he could come to Virginia Tech for that UVA job 4 years ago?
Well, Biscuit, I read last week or 2 weeks ago, Biscuit, Marcus Hagans, for those that don't know, the former UVA and Hampton High legend, is interviewing for a head coaching job at a smaller school.
Okay.
And again, I mean, there's a few guys he may retain. I mean, Tech, what gets lost in losing is the fact that fans will get on their Facebook pages or their group chats and say, this dude can't coach, or these guys suck. And it's not that complicated. It's not that simple. It's more complicated, where sometimes in staff meetings, there's a contingency of coaches say, we should be playing this red shirt freshman. And then the other guy's like, no, I'm going with this guy. He's a senior. He's been loyal. That happens. I can remember when Henry Coleman was at Duke. Hank Coleman, the former Virginia Tech great. Yeah. Henry Coleman, I interviewed him. He committed to Duke. Duke came in late. He would play some and not. I asked his dad. He said Nate James wanted to play him, but the other assistant wanted to play another guy. He goes to Texas A&M and blossoms and kills. Yeah. Right? It's all about location. Penn State, to me, will eventually be fine. It's just that sometimes you have a guy that just fits your system. I don't remember the timeline, but the biggest thing I respect about Franklin, outside of his wins and how he carries himself, is more so about he came to Penn State when their brand took a hit, because, again, tragedy struck with Penn State with the Zangusty, whatever, I can't say his name, stuff happened. Similar to Virginia Tech with the shootings, everybody was like, well, don't send your child to Penn State. Don't send your child to Virginia Tech. And they were able to overcome that and become a national brand again. And that is not easy to do, because some programs stay dormant after something like that. So I just think it's a good fit. I mean, time will tell. Go ahead.
Real quick, I think that one of the things you touch on is he is a program builder.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's one of the things that he does well. He learned from his time at University of Maryland. He's going to build. That's one thing you can count on. He's going to build it back up, right? Now he has to show, can he get over the hump? Getting over the hump in the ACC is a little different than getting over the hump in the Big Ten, where you just got—
or the SEC at Vanderbilt.
Or the SEC, right? And I think he has a better shot, a better path.
Absolutely.
And can make that jump. It's not that it's just lesser. He just has a different path with the connection, with the natural connection. And also, you guys are forgetting another name, and I don't know where he lands too, but Anthony Poindexter's on that.
Anthony Poindexter.
You got your man Poindexter, who should have and could have had his name, should have been in for the defensive coordinator job at Penn State, and has been a coordinator before. Does he come down? There's a lot of ties that come back to there, but I would be remiss if I didn't say that he is a program builder. And then I agree with Dwight on, it does how your staff is put together, who you chooses to recruit, who can go into the homes, and then again, when it comes to that money, are you going to close the deal on those guys? Because there's been a number of guys he's been trying to flip, in this short amount of time they have
But
there. We'll see how it goes.
one last point too. I'm looking at my phone right here, and I got two more points. Ohio State and Michigan have recent national championships. USC has been rebuilding for years. Illinois, irrelevant. Iowa, irrelevant. Minnesota, irrelevant. Nebraska, irrelevant. Washington, Northeastern, UCLA, Rutgers, Maryland. Yes, they left and they got more money, but they haven't done anything. I just think, and again, this is not you, Jeremiah. I've seen this with Virginia Tech fans. I've seen this with other fans in basketball. I've seen this even with high school. You talk about winning a national championship, the big game. No one knows more about big game, tough losses than the Virginia Tech Hokies. Penn State can't get over the hump to win a national championship. Virginia Tech's issue, going back to when I played, was they were being the big game to get to the big game, and we would lose to some head scratcher. My senior year, we were ranked 14th in the nation. We host Temple, and we lose at home. We were 30 point, 21, whatever, 28-point favorites. We lose to Temple, who had 35 straight games lost. They were horrible. We lose at home after being up 17-0. What happened ahead of us in the rankings is 8 teams lost ahead of us, right? If you win that game, you go all the way up into the top 8, top 7. Not to mention, Virginia Tech, when you talk about the losses, the Boise State and things like that, when you talk about that Temple loss, ESPN still ranks this as one of the worst upsets in college football history. So the JMU loss, so when Penn State fans that troll or in their feelings that say, oh, good luck with Franklin, he can't win the big one. Most coaches can't when you look at what is the big one, right? I mean, they said it about Dabo. Dabo was, they called it Clemsoning, right? Dabo did not win the big game until he finally got a transcendent quarterback in Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. He was blessed with 2. People talk about what's wrong with Clemson. They don't have Trevor Lawrence or Taj Boyd or Deshaun Watson. Those 3 guys are legends, right? It's not as easy.
Absolutely.
And then the other point, people say, get back to the Michael Vick era. My cousin and I, everyone knows we're extremely close. Virginia Tech's best era, in my humble opinion, was the Tyrod Taylor era. 3 conference championships, ACC championships, and also they remained in the top 5, top 10 throughout his career. Mike was only there for like 2 years, and he went 21-1. His only loss was because he had a high ankle sprain, and they lost when Miami was 3 and Tech was 2. But that was his only loss. But the golden era for Tech, in my humble opinion, was the Tyrod Taylor, then Logan Thomas era. Logan Thomas's last year, they went 8-5, and they had that tough loss to Clemson in the ACC championship, where Clemson, Bud Foster and I talked about this, Clemson took control of the ACC and never looked back. Virginia Tech lost in 2011. They were going for back-to-back conference championships. Once in 2011, Clemson won that. They never looked back, and they had a stranglehold on it until recent years. So golden era aside, I just feel like when you talk about a big game, I mean, it's all perspective, right? Someone else's tears can be someone else's water, right? It's just one of those things where I just think Franklin is in a good situation. A lot of people, I saw some tweets today that said, yo, why not just sit on that $49 million and go fishing and chill with your beautiful wife? Maybe he would have, but that dude was humble. And last point, I know I said last point earlier, if it wasn't for Pry, which is why he got emotional in the press conference, they've been tight for 30 years. If Pry is petty and bitter, Tech does not get him, because he could have been like, hey, yo, nah, don't mess with them. I mean, we've had jobs with hey, Jeremiah, don't you go coach there, bro. The AD's a jerk. They got this. He was critical in helping tell Franklin the good and the bad and what he's going to be up against. And then the other key person in this, and I don't think people realize this because he's a legend in this industry, is Bud Foster. Bud met with him
Mhm.
right away, and the Board of
Yeah.
Visitors wanted him to take the job then. But Franklin said, "Let me get myself together." And then Bud and the Board of Visitors and Eddie Roll and those guys were relentless. But Bud was critical. But at the end of the day, man, this is what makes this brand exciting, because college football has so many storylines, and it'll be good to see what happens when we move forward next year.
Yeah. Kirk, I want to get your thoughts on this. These guys are babies. You've been associated and loving Virginia Tech for almost 40 years, starting as a student back in the 80s. What are your thoughts on this? Because you were there in the infancy of Frank Beamer's tenure. You know, you were there and my brother who played there on that, when they came, they Beamer, I think my brother's senior year, I think they were like 2-9-1 or something, whatever. They were getting ready to get rid of them. And they said, "You get rid of these assistant coaches, or we getting rid of you." And the next year they wanted to run. And because my brother never played in a bowl game, but they went and they started playing in bowls for like 20-some 5 straight years. So, but you were there, so probably, Kirk, your entire time as a student at Virginia Tech, they weren't even in a bowl game, right?
No, it was
No.
2-9, 3-8, 6-4-1, and 6-5. It was
So
Beamer's
what are
first
your
year, was
thoughts
my
on
first year.
this?
You know, Franklin is exciting. He's got a great personality, right? He's got an outgoing personality, and this is getting more national news than anybody we've ever fired. Nobody ever knew who Frank Beamer was, right? Back in 1986 when they fired him, or when they hired him. But no, I think that this is a good fit. I think we're lucky we got him. I don't think he's the Messiah, because this is a system now. Amateurism is gone, right? And Jeremiah, Penn State may not be Georgia and Alabama, but they got deeper pockets than Tech. Money may not be flowing. That brand, that gear, and all that, Tech is limited, and that's what highlights the fact that what Frank Beamer did,
Yes.
what he did was miraculous. I don't think Nick Saban could have done it. It's just what he did, but he also did it in a very different system. He did it in a very different system. So I talked about the class of 2026, all those guys leaving, right? Big Ten, Clemson got kids in those things. Um, it's a money game now. And I think that Tech has the right guy, right? I don't know how long he'll stay. He's 50. The only thing I would say is I wish he was a little younger, right? I was saying we need to hire a coach that's not
He's
older than
our
45.
age. He's our age. He's a
I
young
don't think he's
dude.
that old. He's not that old.
He's
Not
3 years
for
younger
coaching.
than us. He's 53. So
He
the
looks
thing
great.
is,
That's not
He looks
old.
great.
no, but I know. But the thing is I think he is. There's an excitement. He's got a good brand. He's an amazing recruiter. He's a great recruiter. I can tell you that the parents that I've talked to love him, right? He is just a guy Tony Rojas, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in Blacksburg. There's a bunch of Virginia kids up there, the kid from Light Ridge, Alex Birchmeyer from Broad Run, bunch of kids. And by the way, Penn State, you guys were talking, how about DJ Dozier from Kempsville High School? We're
Dog.
talking, yeah.
Dog.
And a lot of people forget this. Michael Vick was the number 3 rated player in the state of Virginia his senior year. Number 2 was a guy named Bruce Branch, who went to Penn State, and that's back when Huguenot had Richard McPhee, and they gave his son one of those deals. And a lot of people forget this. Antoine Womack had verbaled to Penn State and flipped to UVA. Bill D's a Pennsylvania guy. So Penn State has been in Virginia for a very long time.
Long time.
Keith Gouganis down in Virginia Beach. I mean, we go on and on and on, in Southwest Virginia too. So I think there's going to be a push with recruits right away, right? I think there's a huge weekend. They're all going to Blacksburg this weekend. Who we playing, Dwight?
Miami at noon.
Yeah, that is man. Look at X or Twitter, and kids are going down there. So I think this is a good hire. Did they publish how much money he's getting?
No, they haven't yet. But the media guys are filling out the FOI, Freedom of Information stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The simple way I heard the math was he was the way that Penn State contract worked, he was supposed to find a job, a comparable job. From what I understand, they owed him like 50 something, and now it is the difference they'll be paying him is 9. So some people were saying if you do the math between the 50 and the 9, that's probably what they're paying, 40 some million, while Penn State is still on the hook for about 9.
Yeah, so I think it's exciting. It's nice to be excited again, right? And all these kids are talking about us. I'll close with my take on this. I think he'll flip 3 kids that are going elsewhere, right? I think that'll happen. There's a couple commitments now that I think will flip. We've already talked about one possibly, and then the other thing is if they do retain someone, Fontel Mines has been our best recruiter by far, best recruiter. So if we're going to retain someone, I'd say I hope we retain him, and I think that Anthony Poindexter in the state could be dangerous. He's a Wahoo, but hey, man, so is Fontel Mines. He's done wonderful things. So
hey, I will say this: I played against Poindexter. That's my brother. We were in mini camp together with the Baltimore Ravens. I was home on the bye week when he tore his knee. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I played against him in the VHSL All-Star game. When he tore his knee against NC State, I was mad. I was mad like I got hurt because I played against Ed Reed, played against Antonio Banks, and I played against Torian Gray. Torian Gray and Antonio Banks were on my team. And going against Ed Reed and going against Poindexter, I was blessed to go against some of the best safeties. Poindexter should have a statue outside of UVA. I'm telling you right now.
He was amazing.
He was. And the knock was, this is why you leave your junior year, but that's how much you love UVA. I don't know, as much as, this is a business, it would look funny to me. This is just me tripping. It would look funny to me to see Dex in orange and maroon. That would look crazy to me. I can't, and I know these guys, the one thing I don't think fans realize, and you guys know this, Jeremiah, you know this, this is a business. These guys are rivals. We hate them. When I've been to these coaches, I did ACC Media Day. I saw Paul Johnson. These guys are boys. They drink and talk. So it's not the same. But at the end of the day, that would look funny. I just think Dex, but I tell you what, him and Biscuit, Marcus Higgins, Franklin's a G because those two guys really recruited Virginia well, really killed it. And they're both relatable. But it's going to be fun. I'm glad to be relevant. I just wish we had a better record. I'm tired of the mediocrity and underachieving. I told Rusty the other day when we did the media day. Again, no shame at JMU and ODU, but JMU the last 5 years has been probably the best program in Virginia, and I have no problem saying that. But I tell you what, the schedule shapes out because 2 teams that come in lane next season are JMU and ODU. So Franklin, So again, Franklin's going to have a chance to make a statement off the rip because you have the schedule sets up nicely. And even though I read the Big Ten teams and saying this about Maryland and Michigan State, the Big Ten is better than the ACC conference-wise, and it's a tougher gauntlet. Respectfully, UVA is on the brink of playing for the ACC championship, and I believe they're 5 or 6-0 in one-score games, and they barely beat UNC. They barely beat Louisville. That went to overtime. It just seems like the ACC is a nice conference right now, but more of a basketball conference. So, you can have a quick flip and find yourself in the midst of making a run. And I think the biggest point people had an issue with Pry about is game and clock management, where he was 1-12 in one-score games. So you had Syracuse 21-3 at Syracuse. You had Miami beat. You had them beat. You kept losing these games against ranked and conference opponents, where if you win that, even the South Carolina game, I came on Matt Hatfield's show, and I said, if he can win this game, even though I knew South Carolina wasn't that great, they were 13th in the nation. You win that game, that's a signature win. Monty, the interim coach, the offensive coordinator, has more one-score wins than Pry does, and he's the interim. So it's a fine line. But I know Penn State fans, you don't know heartache until – listen, last year in that playoff game, Jeremiah, you can help me remember, there were 2 plays that if they go the other way, you guys are going to the national championship, right?
Yes,
so, think about that, right? we might not be having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Who would they have played?
We would have played Ohio State again.
You never know.
Who we went to overtime with in the regular season.
Exactly.
Hey,
Oh, man.
Okay, and I'm in the thick of it. I'm still coaching, right? We're still in the playoffs, and we're in the thick of it. We got a kid that's committed to Clemson right now, right? His mom went to Tech. His number 2 choice is Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say Virginia Tech don't call. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it, but somebody gonna call if they got some right mind about him. And I know Coach Franklin didn't forget.
His phone is on. His phone is already ready.
By the way, you can watch the last word with Rusty Byrd on the Loudoun County football program, which was recently released.
That
to learn more.
Right? That part. So, but I'm gonna give you 2 stories, but I want to talk about a kid, number 1 running back. I think he's number 1 in the country right now. From high school,
mm-hmm.
right? Savion, right? And he's the man. He's a Michigan commit. I would be remiss if I wasn't recruiting to call his house and be like, hey, listen, let me give you an opportunity to play close and home. Let me give you an opportunity to do this. All right, Michigan can supply this, right? This is what we can give you for your family, right? There's a different level of recruiting that's going to happen. I've sat in both, both in the spring, both in last fall, at both universities with both staffs. Different person the head of the staff, but how it's run, he's going to bring a different operation to that aspect, 100%. My daughter is at Penn State right now, 100% because of James Franklin.
Wow.
And so I'll tell you the story on how it happened, right? Again, myself and mom got in a great way. I got in because I could hit people. She got in because she hit the books. You know what I mean? And so we said, hey, you're going to apply. You're just going to apply. But, she really wanted to go to JMU, University of Maryland. Shout out to Mrs. Byrd. University of Maryland was number 1 on her list. But she wanted to work with an athletic team. Maryland, she wanted to work with women's basketball. Somewhere else she wanted to work. So we went up in the spring as a coaching staff to see spring practice, talk to some of the guys I knew there, and just say, hey, my daughter's applying. Do you have anything in recruiting or something that she could do? They say, hey, what about video management? And I said, yeah, cool. So I known the guy. He's been there for 16 years, known him. And so he hops on the Zoom that next week. He said, let's talk about it. Let us introduce it to her. If she likes it, great. If not, thanks for your time. We sit down, we go in the basement on this very computer. We sit in the basement of our house, listen to the spiel. She's like, this is neat. You can be a part, you can travel, you stay with it 4 years, you'll be a letterman just like I was a letterman. All of those, you're part of the program. You're like a student athlete. There's could be some scholarship money involved in it. It's going to take a tremendous amount of time and effort on your part. She's like, man, that sounds pretty cool. What do you think about it? She's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's going to be a lot of time. I said, listen, this is serious. You can't mess up the film. You know what I mean? You can't, that's got to be traded with other people. 20 minutes after that, I get a text message like, hey, Coach Franklin wants to call you. Are you available? All right. Okay, cool. He calls on FaceTime and says, hey, Jeremiah, let me talk to your daughter. I'm like, hey, Coach, hey, how you doing? He said, let me talk to your daughter. Hand the phone to her. He said, hey, listen, I know you're considering Howard University, JMU. Did Coach Loxley call you from Maryland? I said, no. So what about those guys over at JMU? She said, no. He says, well, I'm calling you because I want you to be a part of our national championship winning program. I want you to be a part of that. She said, I'd love for you to come here and be part of it. That's my daughter who's not an athlete, who's not, God bless her. She played 3 sports in high school, but she wasn't going to run in and score any touchdowns. This is just somebody who's going to be involved in a film program. And that was a call that he made to her. That she's like, I'm going to Penn State. Like, well, we got to look at the finance. She's like, I'm going to Penn State. I got to take out loans. And so, like that's how he handled that, right? And that's how he handles recruiting. He has a certain way. He has a GM. He has all of these things, but like that's a different mode of action. You know what I mean? That he's bringing to it. And I'm not saying again. I've sat in the indoor facility and they set up the tables and the coaches come around Virginia Tech and they shook your hand and it was different. You know what I mean? It's a different mode, and you don't know. This is one of the things I love to start this program by listening to it right here. I love to advise your college on how other colleges are doing recruiting, because you would never know. If you're at VMI, you'll never know what they're doing at Hampton because you haven't gone to Hampton. You know what I mean? You never coached there. You don't know what they're doing while they're getting the players, right? So if he's bringing this level to something that they didn't know about, where does it go from there? And I just think again, it takes off. And the second story I have for you is today. My son put a picture up and he said, this is my awards for the year, not finished. We're going through the playoffs, right? Norfolk State haven't called yet, but we can talk about that after the broadcast. But his, I mean, it wasn't. He's been that player, and the film's been on the Twitter the whole time, right? But he posted that, and the next hour, a litany of coaches called, all in the state of Virginia. They DM'd and they follow all in the state of Virginia, and it wasn't just because he changed his stuff. James Franklin's changed how you got to recruit in the state of Virginia in one day. Mark, in one day, he's changed how you have to recruit in the state of Virginia because it's now become a priority. We can't just wait. You can't, like Dwight said, the top dog's been JMU just in the last year or two, and Liberty, right? But they have a different calendar than you do at UVA and at Virginia Tech.
And just to add, JMU and Liberty, especially JMU's been the top dog, not so much respectfully because they're getting the in-state talent. Because ODU last year only signed out of the 28 players, they only signed one guy from Virginia.
Yeah.
Those programs, especially JMU, has been the better program the last 5 years because they have cohesiveness, a systematic approach that makes sense for their personnel. They have a great staff. People overcomplicate this stuff, but you're right. James Franklin, you can keep spitting. James Franklin is making everybody step up.
Infrastructure, which was recently discussed with VCU. Yeah, Will Wade. So he was on the staff when we went to the Final Four. Will Wade was right before they played VCU. Said, "I was a dummy for leaving VCU."
Yeah,
he said, infrastructure and what they have for. He said, "Look, since I left, since Shaka left, VCU keeps winning. So it ain't just the coaches. It's the president.
Bingo.
It's the ADs.
Bingo.
It's the fans. It's the facilities. It's the infrastructure." He said, all of us going to keep coming and going, but VCU is not skipping a beat. So that is key. That is a big thing, and that's what JMU has benefited from. And to be honest, I think some of the Virginia Tech might have was spoiled and just thought that would keep up. It's not guaranteed. If Fuentes comes in, he can destroy all of that. I think it's that infrastructure. And what Penn State needs to be careful of is they have a great tradition, but that is not guaranteed. I will tell you, I have a coworker who went to Nebraska, and she loves the black shirts, and she is a Nebraska fan. Jeremiah, you had a player play at Nebraska.
Sure. The one at Pearson L, root to the good brothers.
It's not guaranteed. They've actually won more championships than Penn State recently. In the 90s, they won national championships. And now he was thinking about Nebraska football. Like, it could very quickly all go away, Penn State.
I'll say, just to add to your point, Fuente gets, and rightfully so, gets highly criticized. But one thing he did, it was a domino effect. He came in and he won more games. He set a record for winning more games in his first 3 years than any other ACC coach in history. But those were with Beamer's players. But what he did was, when he flirted with the Baylor job, he got his assistants and himself an extension. But he also made Witt create the new facilities because he talked about how Baylor had better facilities, right? And then Fuente came, when Pry came in, by that time, Fuente had ruined all the in-state relationships with high school coaches with the hashtag Texas to VA, right? So nobody from Virginia Tech was in Loudoun, 757, Richmond, nobody. They were going to JMU, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest. UVA, unfortunately, didn't take advantage of Virginia Tech's mishaps because they were struggling as well. But what Pry did was repair the relationships and improve the brand somewhat. So in both ways, even though they were failures, so to speak, coaching-wise, they did great things to allow now you have a Jedi Knight coming in. You got a Yoda coming in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Franklin coming in and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to show y'all I'm going to build on what they did. And that's what I think he's walking into versus what Pry walked into.
Yeah.
Pry had more work to do than anybody because it was such a mess. Fuente did not believe Virginia was a state you needed to recruit.
I know.
He just didn't. It was embarrassing. It was seeing guys at Pittsburgh, seeing guys at other schools, even mid-majors, Marshall. I was like, why are they not at Tech? It was insane. He wasn't even offering Virginia Tech legacy players. It just, I can go on and on, but I'm sorry. I know you got your, go ahead.
No. Look, so this has been amazing. And we say, oh, we'll try to keep it 20. You just can't, because everybody here has love and passion for what we just discussed. So look, this show, again, I don't care about your first take. I just want to know about your last word. So we're going to do that. We're going to go round robin, and we'll start with you, Dwight. What is your last word on the James Franklin hire?
I just want to say, man, like, when it comes to this business of college football and basketball now, and I know there's other sports, volleyball and track, but I just want to tell fan bases to understand, man, that sometimes it's not about you, it's about the game. And what I mean is the game has changed. And if you are winning now and you have a great coach and a great staff, appreciate it, because you said earlier, Rusty, it doesn't last forever. And I've learned that post Beamer, and I just feel like when it comes down to it, man, enjoy the wins, because everyone doesn't experience that. I realized that when my career was over, and I look back, I played at Hampton High, we won, played at Virginia Tech, we won. I had a brief pro career, but wherever I was at, arena ball, even when I did some adult flag football, we won, but everyone doesn't experience that. So if you're part of a winning program as a fan, alumni, medical staff, appreciate it, man, because this business has changed now. There's a lot of movement. So just appreciate the wins and understand that everyone doesn't share in that. Everyone doesn't get to experience that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dwight. Kirk Hillard, class of 91.
I'm guardedly optimistic. I would say that it's a bigger system thing, right? He's going to have a push, right? Some things are going to happen between now and February and signing day where there's going to be a lot of excitement, but he's still working in a system where you've got Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and this is professional now. The amateurism is gone. I saw where that 5-star cornerback at Stonebridge just got offered by Georgia as a sophomore, which means he's 15 years old. So, you know, what they can do down there is just totally different. I don't know if Virginia Tech, how we're going to fare until this thing works itself out, right? With the NIL and the portal. I think there'll be some regulation around it and, you know, the lack of continuity for education. But I think the next few years are going to be fun. And I like what Dwight said. I mean, I remember when me and my buddies would be sick to our stomach for a week after a loss, right? You know, we just won. So I think this is a good thing for Virginia Tech. I like the excitement, and I'm hoping he can come close to what Beamer did. He just anywhere close to it would be good. And you know, Jeremiah, he'll be up here in the next couple of days. You know, he'll be here. So I'm excited, and I think
Jeremiah Davis, your last word.
You know, I always like to flip it on the positive and keep it general. This is this you've seen. I ain't gonna preach, but you've seen how God can change your outcome, right? He took a situation where a man was disgraced publicly, dethroned, uncrowned, humiliated, humbled, to now he's being exalted in a different place that may be a better situation for him and his family to achieve that goal. So you take this situation, you apply it to your life. How might you turn your misfortune into a great fortune? That's my last word.
Wow.
Preach.
Hey, listen,
Preach.
boy,
That's
the offering plate?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm about to go play for Coach Jeremiah. Listen, that was a bar. I'm sitting here like, yo, sorry, Rusty. That should have been the last tape, man. That should have been the last tape.
Hey, y'all want to know how he got that pretty wife?
Hey, He was spitting, man. You was like Franklin Satan up in here, man.
Yes, sir. That's my boy. Yes.
Yeah.
All
man.
right. So I know I can't top that, but I will close with this. My last word is this. I just want to say 2 words. My last 2 words are excitement and pride. I love the state I'm from. I love Virginia. I love the 757. I can say I'm from that area to anybody, and everybody knows. Like Media Day, coach from 75. We're like, hey! Like, we have that love, all of us. We all have ties there. Jeremiah was born there. His mom's from P-Town. We're from Hampton. Like, excitement and pride. Virginia Tech has Virginia in the name. I can't say just how much I am now excited, but I've always been proud. I go to church with a whole lot of people from around the world because they were in the military, but a lot of them seem to be from Alabama. And we talk trash every Sunday when it comes to football season. Now, my pastor is John Mitchell. Unfortunately, he was a crabber and he went to JMU. And so he's talking stuff. But I want to be able to have that excitement and pride again, where each week, when Alabama people at my church come, I'm hitting them up at midnight like OU, like the pride that comes with when people know you're associated or you have a love for a program. I feel like it's coming back. Even just this week, I feel it coming back. And so my last word would be excitement and proud, being proud of where Virginia Tech's potential and where they could be headed. So for my man Kirk Hillard, Dwight Vick, Jeremiah Davis, this has been the last word on James Franklin. We are.
Hey. That last word we don't play. DMV heat coming straight your way. No visit to the 757. We ride. Rusty Byrd got the bullpen live on.